It's Tuesday, April 19th. I'm Scott.
I'm Ren.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, the 7 wonders of the world. Let's do this.
Wow, I haven't seen Pete and Pete since, I don't know, middle school?
I've seen it more recently, perhaps on YouTube.
I
can't
don't
really
think
remember.
I have. I don't think I have actually seen Pete and Pete since
Well,
I was
I haven't
a
seen like a
child.
whole episode, but I've seen a clip.
Well, there's two, remember. There's the actual show, and then there's those shorts they would play.
I don't remember. Anyway,
Well, you should remember that.
I remember enough.
I remember very clearly because it was on TV many, many times. I think I was sick and I just kept seeing it. It's the one where he's Pete, as opposed to Pete, is mowing the side of the freeway,
Yep.
trying to blow up
That's
cars.
a classic.
Yeah.
How about the Hoover Dam?
Oh my
Another
God.
classic. The roof stack.
I think I really like the one with the lunar eclipse.
Oh yeah, it's a good one too. Or the times, the daylight savings time.
Oh, when he's trying to race and stay in the same time.
Yeah. Anyway, so you know how I always say, right, that, it's like I got a big trade-off, right? It's like, all these people in the world, they suffer from chronic back pain. But I will not suffer from pain. I will have a hunch instead, but be pain-free until maybe I'm old.
But Scott, I point out I'm also pain-free, nor do I have a hunch.
I'm just saying.
Neither one. It's possible to have no hunch and to not have back pain. The people who have back pain don't have it for their lack of hunching. They have it because they don't bend their knees.
But anyway, I have suffered my first back pain.
Ooh, back injury. You know, it's funny because I did hurt my back
In my
not that
entire
long ago.
life. It is hurting.
Scott, you know what this means?
Hmm?
We're officially old.
Oh no.
Because my whole life, I would like fall off cliffs, bicycle spoke through the leg, concussion, and I never I just bounced back. Like the next day I'd be fine.
Yeah.
And then, last week when I got food poisoning and I fell over backwards, vomiting so hard that I threw my back out, my back hurt for like 2 weeks.
Really? 2 weeks? Okay, because I don't know. I didn't actually at least remember doing anything that injured the back, right? But it's like,
I know exactly what you did.
what, nothing?
Hunching.
But the thing is, it's on the low back. It's not in the upper hunch area. It's like way
Yeah.
low. It's like where my tail would be if I had a tail.
Yeah, that's where most back pain ends up being.
Yeah, but anyway, it's like...
You know where you should go? Spa Castle. Because my back pain actually went away completely after Spa Castle.
Yeah, I could definitely use something like that.
Because there's some Randy in there. You got to stay away from the Randy. But there's also just jets of water that pound your back for free.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, it's like I woke up like a couple mornings ago and it was just not good. And then I went to bed last night and I woke up and it was still not good. I was like, what the fuck?
That's the first sign of being old, when there's pain that is there one day and it's still there the next
It's like
day unchanged.
usually you're going to go to bed and wake up and it's going to be gone.
I think the primary example of youth is that when I was a kid, like when I would get hangovers, like, okay, I got a hangover in the morning, afternoon, fine. Or really sick feeling. Go to sleep, you'll feel 100% like new the next day. It's not true anymore.
No, I'm gonna do big sleep. If I still have it for Anime Boston, it's gonna be trouble. I gotta carry my luggage around
You should get wheelie luggage.
like a sissy.
You mean like everyone who travels except
Well,
you?
see, the thing is, the people with wheelie luggage are permanent sissies. I'm only a part-time sissy. I have been temporarily sissified. As soon as I get rid of this pain, I will no longer need wheelie luggage.
Scott, I point out that had you had wheelie luggage, you might not have slammed into that obstacle.
But it shows even less of a sissy I am. I could slam right into an obstacle, no problem. Breaker of infrastructure.
I will continue to use my wheelie luggage.
Sissy.
So it's Tuesday.
It's tourist season.
Yeah, it's
Kill
tourist
all
season.
tourists.
Oh my God.
That's all I'm gonna say. Kill all tourists.
They've actually been pretty well behaved by me.
Not by me.
No trouble
They're
at all.
slow as balls.
The people who
I took a train to Fairfield last night to go to my parents' house. I was walking down the ramp to go from the train platform to the car. You know, my dad was sitting in the car.
like you do.
Old lady in front of me, slow in Fairfield, tourist in front of me.
She might have just been old.
That's enough. Also, I didn't actually get on one of these trains, but Connecticut has some new trains on the New Haven line.
I've heard.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
Yeah, one of my coworkers used to live in Manhattan, moved out there, and he's like, yeah, the train's nice, but fuck this.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But the trains are nice, at least.
So it won't be that long till we find out who's in Jane McGonigal's Find the Future. that event we talked about, that thing of the day. So
Yeah, I applied.
I think tomorrow is the last day to apply.
All right.
So if you want to be in that game, you'd better apply now.
Well, I mean, anyone can play it. It's just if you want to be overnight doing it.
If you want to be one of the immortal 500.
Yeah. Anyway. Is that it for Opening Bits?
I guess we're supposed to have a smooth transition.
Well, after hundreds of smooth transitions, we can have one non-smooth transition.
No, so that'll be the thing. Non-smooth transitions.
And
this entire show.
It can be smooth in its lack of smoothness.
It's gonna be smooth.
Intentionally unsmooth.
You mean like when Black Dynamite glances up at that microphone that's hanging down from the boom in shot?
That's right. So I got sort of a news/geek bite together, right? There's this game that came out called Ace of Spades.
Ah, the game that we couldn't get the server working.
I've gotten it to work a few times.
Last I talked to you, you said you didn't.
Well, I didn't get the server to work personally, but I've played it on someone else's server a few times.
So how come they can get it working, but you can't?
Because they were at RIT.
I'll try to run one.
Yeah, but anyway.
My Counter-Strike server is still broken, so I gotta get something running.
But anyway, so this game basically is the kind of thing I've been asking for. It's basically the core concept of it is very strong. This game has good fundamentals, right? Which is, it's like Minecraft. You can break blocks and you can put blocks, and you can put blocks of any color you want, right? And every block is just a block. There's no difference between one block and another block. Everything is just the same. And you also have a gun, right? And the gun kills people. And both sides of the map have an intelligence that you're trying to protect, and you're also trying to capture the other guy's intelligence, right? So fundamentally, it's capture the flag with blocks, which is pretty damn good. The problem with the game is that it has some technological shortcomings, right? In that the networking, fails a lot.
Why does no one get this right? I understand.
The thing is, they've actually gotten it right into where once the server is working properly and you're connected to it properly, it does work really well, actually.
I heard a lot of people complaining about the fact that there's no it appears that there's no prediction of movement, that you have to lead your shots based on lag, not based on movement.
Well, if there is someone who is incredibly laggy, then yes, you do have to maybe figure out where they're going to be.
I've always been of the mind, and maybe it's just because I've never in my life had a high ping, that if you have to choose between punishing the high ping bastards and the low ping bastards, fuck the high ping bastards.
That's right. You should punish the lag guy, not the guy with no lag. But anyway, the thing is, the gun in the game is actually stupidly accurate. Like, there is no scatter or cone shot. You click, and the bullet goes infinitely in that direction that you clicked, precisely where the crosshair was, and immediately. So you
Quake 2 style.
You click on a guy, and as soon as you click, blood pops out of him, like. Right? It's like if you click on him, you got him. The gun is a sniper rifle that has no, there's no recoil, there's no nothing, right? And it has a slow rate of fire, but you can just be like bam, bam. And so the problem is the game has fog. So the thing is, if you can see someone through the fog, you can shoot him. But if you can't see them, it becomes hard to shoot him. But don't let that fool you, though, because sometimes you won't see someone through the fog, but they'll see you when you were in the fog, and you'll recede into the fog thinking you ran away from them, but they just keep shooting right where they last saw you. Because ammo is basically almost infinite.
God, if we didn't have Anime Boston coming up, I would have been playing some of that.
No, I'd be playing Portal 2, which I only was able to play one chapter of.
Yeah, but it's only going to take us 8 hours to beat Portal.
Well, you got to play it twice because it's a co-op game and a single-player game.
Yeah, I heard 8 hours for single player and then another 4 or 5 for the co-op.
Whatever. It's quality hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, Ace of Spades, the game has some, problems in its details, in its technology, and it definitely needs a lot more polishing and embellishing.
Well, I would say that the problems it appears to have, by and large, are very similar to the problems that were never solved in the old Quake 2 mods that I liked.
Yeah, but the fundamentals of the game are very sound. And the thing is, I'm already seeing emergent gameplay. For example, here's just one example, then we'll move on. When you start with 50 blocks, and you can place blocks wherever you want, right? And you can make the blocks any color you want. So what you can do is you can right-click on any block on the screen, and then it'll change the color of the block you're holding to match the color of the block you clicked.
Uh-huh.
And there's a mini-map in the game that you press M to look at the map. And it gives you basically a perfect overhead view of the game. Perfect, right? So you see pretty much every pixel of the whole map from a directly straight down overhead view. So the intelligence on the map is like a blue square or a green square. So lay down some blocks in a blue square or a green square of the same dimensions, and now the other team sees two intelligences. And if they're stupid, they don't know which one is which.
That is right up there with my bro C.
Another example, right? Go to where you have to make bridges to go over the water faster, right? Because swimming in the water is kind of slow and troublesome, but if you make a bridge, then you're in business. But you don't want the other team to see where your bridges are. So what you do is when you're making a bridge, you jump in the water and you make every brick of the bridge, you use the right click to make it the same color as the water underneath, and you get Indiana Jones bridges. And no one can see them on the map. It just looks like water. But when your team actually is standing right there, it's pretty easy to see the bridge from the side, just like the Indiana Jones bridge is easy to see from the side, but not straight ahead.
See, I've realized that I like first generation immersion gameplay, but I often dislike second generation simulacra of emergent gameplay. I think the best example is bunny hopping was kind of a fluke in early Quake games, but it was
but you don't like skiing in Tribes?
Well, but the thing is, skiing in Tribes, like bunny hopping, was at least like it was done well, but it's very hard to do that well. Most games that try to simulate some sort of errant or emergent behavior from previous games end up duplicating it perfectly rather than duplicating the intent. And when you duplicate it perfectly, you get Heroes of fucking Newerth.
Yep. Anyway, so what you got?
So the nation of Armenia has
What does
decided,
it do? Are they playing games? What does it do?
They have decided that chess is now compulsory in all primary education. Public schools, chess is a class, just like math and everything else.
Oh, that's okay,
well,
but it's not
here's
great.
what I want to say. I think the concept is great. I think that games...
But chess is the wrong choice.
Let me finish. That games and analytical thinking and things like this, I feel like a lot of students in school learn more innately from their music classes, their art classes, their chess classes than they do from a lot of their math and science
even
classes.
if they don't learn it directly, being in those classes has been shown in many studies to enhance, what you learn in the other classes.
That's what I'm saying.
If you're in band, you're going to be smarter and learn more in math. Even though you might not necessarily learn about music more.
Yes, exactly what I was saying.
All right.
So, but gaming in particular, I mean, remember Jane McGonigal's talk from PAX and what a lot of researchers say time and time again, that play is one of the primary methods that mammals learn anything.
Yep.
I mean, it's the way that hunting instincts and predation instincts are passed on.
Are you saying you want a school where people do nothing but play games all day?
I'm saying that gaming needs to be more tightly integrated with education.
Of course.
And I've been saying that for a long time, and every now and then we get a tiny glimmer of someone who gets it.
It wasn't completely absent from our education. We played Oregon Trail and, all sorts of stuff.
We never played Oregon Trail officially. It was just there in the computer lab, and the smart kids played it instead of doing their work.
Oh, no, gaming was there in my schooling from nursery school to 12th grade. There was games going on.
But not as much as there should be, not as tightly integrated with the education. It was often
there
a secondary activity.
There could have been more, but there was still plenty of gaming. I mean, word munchers in kindergarten.
I mean, was your assignment to play Oregon Trail, or was it just on the computer?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was just on the computer.
But there was nothing to do on the computer but play games.
Yeah. Usually they'd give you some assignment, like, all right, type this document in this word processor, and when you're done, just sit there. So all the smart kids would just go to the shared drive, get the document the teacher typed up, send it back to him, and then play games for an hour. But the thing I take issue with is that they're about 50 years too late. I don't think chess is the game that should be used, because I don't think chess is a good teaching tool at all.
No.
Chess is too abstract. There's too high of a barrier to skilled play.
I think the reason they're doing it is they just want to have an Armenian be like the chess champion of the world. They don't want to miss anybody. It's all about national.
I actually think it's a little deeper than that. I think that there's a recognition. I mean, most people associate chess with smart people. That people who play chess tend to be smart. They know that chess is an abstraction of war, that there's strategy involved. It has all the trappings of the things you would actually want to teach children on a fundamental level.
But
self-reliance, analytical thinking. And it does have all those things. I just don't think it is nearly as good a teaching tool as, say, a lot of the German-style board games we like.
Of course. Why don't they? What they should do is, I don't understand how you're gonna have a required class, but for every possible grade. So you're gonna play chess as a class every year for your whole schooling from K through
Scott,
12?
I don't know the exact details of it.
Yeah, because it's like that's a lot of chess to be playing. Why don't you? They should mix it up. There should be basically game class where you play serious games of all sorts: Go, chess, Puerto Rico.
I would just
D&E.
call the class strategy
That's a good class.
or analytical thinking.
Why not? Sure, go for it.
Yeah.
Portal 2.
But I mean, we did a panel on this, but basically, I think my main argument, the reason why chess and Go don't work, and the same reason why a lot of video games don't actually work, and sports and everything, is that these particular types of board games, the not wholly abstracted, German or Euro-style games, tend to be very focused and tend to reduce randomness, but more importantly, because of the mechanical constraints of the game and the fact that they are a kind of direct analogy of the real world, you can hold the entire state of the game in your head to a reasonable degree. That the actual number of different decisions you're making is fairly constrained, and you can have a board game that you teach to kids where they play it, and the smarter of them will solve it by the end of the class.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more actual learning going on, at least practical learning, because chess will teach you to be a better chess player, and maybe it'll teach you some pattern recognition, but I don't know, playing modern art will teach you valuation and mind reading and all sorts of stuff.
Street Fighter is important. StarCraft, why not?
Yeah, but Street Fighter and StarCraft, because they're not mechanical, they're more mathematically complex and have a much broader decision matrix in them, and as a result, I think they're less good as direct teaching tools because the answer key is not as useful to a student's progress as it is in, say, Puerto Rico.
It will if you want to actually produce people who are going to be professional gamers.
I think that should be a separate branch of education.
Hey, they have gym classes required. They're trying to make professional athletes.
No,
or
they're
what?
not trying to make professional athletes.
Maybe they should. You got to start young if you want to even have a chance.
So, things of the day. Hobo Nickels. Nickels made by hobos.
Well, they took nickel and they minted it? How would a hobo possibly do that?
In the early part of the 1900s, there was a movement of, not really a movement, but kind of an art form that was popularized called the Hobo Nickel, where people would take nickels, particularly later on that buffalo nickel, and just carve reliefs into them, make them some other thing.
You need a pretty serious tool to carve into the nickel, right? With any efficiency.
No more than you need for any sort of metal sculpting.
Yeah, what would you use? Like a chisel? And it's like, what would you...
Yeah, nowadays people use Dremels and things, but...
A Dremel would work, yeah.
I mean, hobos did this, Scott. It's not that hard. Nickels are actually not that strong either.
I never actually tried to,
Try to deface a nickel. It won't take you. I could deface a nickel with a dime if I really wanted to.
I don't know about that.
I got a nickel and a dime right here, so I'll work on that.
Work on it. You keep doing that.
Anyway, hobo nickels are often actually made by hobos, and there's a whole hobby of collecting them and making them, and this crazy story.
Yeah, hobos do lots of stuff like that because you're hobo. You don't.
Don't
have anything to do. So something that takes a long time, like scratching a nickel to draw a picture on it, is gonna be perfect activity for a hobo.
There is the era of the classic hobo nickels from 1913 to 1940. Then there was the later era.
So what about the hobo? So the hobo who made one in 1941, his doesn't count?
No, his is the later era. And then from 1980 onward is the modern era.
What happened in 1940 that changed the hobos?
Let's find out. So in the original era, in the 30s and on, there was a guy named Bert. Mm-hmm. And he had a student named
Ernie.
Bo. And Bert and Bo, these hobos, carved all the kind of canonical hobo nickels.
So basically they were only two hobos who were in the game.
Well, no, they're the famous ones. There were many other people, but these two were well known.
Okay.
So in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s onward, that was a transitional period for hobo engravers because the buffalo nickel was gradually replaced by the Jefferson nickel.
Ah.
The buffalo nickel was it was widely regarded as being too ugly when it was new and too ugly when it was worn down, and therefore always ugly. But it was a good medium for hobo carving. So the Jefferson nickel wasn't as good, so people had to do very different things to the nickels. They made different
Oh,
kinds of
so
designs.
it's not the year that you carved it that makes the difference. It's the nickel you used.
Well, no, it's that the types of hobo nickels that were made transitioned because the kinds of nickels that existed were different, and like art styles were different. Apparently, a lot of people made Chinese women and hippies. Modern hobo nickels are made mostly with Dremels, and a lot of people disdain them, saying that only old hobo nickels count.
Only old ones count. Oh, Rim, I see you painted this fabulous painting, and it's so incredibly fabulous. But you know what? It doesn't count because you used paint from the paint store. You weren't like Van Gogh.
Yeah, there's the original Hobo
just went to
Nickel
the-
Society. They will like do research on and certify, because apparently there's a problem where people will make fake hobo nickels and sell them to collectors.
What, for 5 cents?
for hundreds, thousands of dollars.
Who would pay $100,000 for a nickel? You're a moron.
What if it's a car? I mean, it's a piece of art, just like a painting.
I'm not paying. It doesn't matter. I don't think it's worth that much money for a nickel.
But it's not a nickel anymore.
It
It's a
doesn't
carving
matter how
that
fabulous.
happens to be in the shape of a nickel.
I don't care if Michelangelo carved the fucking nickel. It's not worth $100,000.
I would pay $100,000 for a nickel carved by Michelangelo.
I would pay maybe $1,000.
You know
for
why I'd pay
something carved-
$100,000? Because
Why?
I could sell it for way more than
I'm
$100,000.
just saying. I'm not paying.
I'd sell it to a museum because it belongs in a museum.
I'm just saying, if Michelangelo had a buffalo nickel, that is some serious crazy fucking.
So
How the hell did he get it?
my thing of the day is merely the existence of hobo nickels. I suggest you check these out.
All right.
I like this Viking guy.
So I know that Rim is a hater of the LCD portable game. You know, the Game & Watch, the Tiger LCD.
Not a hater.
All right, Rim.
Because a hater implies that the hate is probably unwarranted. Those games were shit.
As you can see, haters gonna hate.
I had a Game Boy and a Game Gear.
Yeah, before those existed.
You know what I had before them? You know what I did when I had a long car
A
trip?
book.
Read a fucking book.
Yeah, but anyway, Tiger
Or I had mechanical handheld games.
or light up football.
Nah, not light up football. I had a light up baseball from like 1949.
Anyway, I am a fan of the old LCD games, Game & Watch, Tiger LCD, etc. Rim is not. He's a
Because
hater.
they're shitty.
Anyway,
They were way overpriced for what they were.
yeah, they were like $10. This guy made a website called Pika Pik, PICA-PIC, and it's not hippopotamuses, hippopotams. Digitalized collection of handheld electronic games. And this is it's a Flash site. It's all Flash, but on this site, it's basically exact, perfect reproductions of a bunch, not a whole ton, but a whole bunch of old LCD games that Rim doesn't like. Some Game & Watches, Zelda Game & Watch, a Dr. Slump game. Let's see, Real Animation, Animest, and Wide Vision, Dr. Slump Arale song, and super whatever.
See, now, things like that are fun. I enjoy playing, like, kind of like old electromechanical arcade games or a lot of vintage arcade games. They're not
Oh, so these are
actually
okay
fun.
now that they're old?
No, they're not actually fun
But
to
they
play.
are actually fun.
If I'd been a kid, I would not have enjoyed playing some of the games that are lauded as, you know, modern, like, oh, check out this classic arcade game, because a lot of them are shit. But there's still an interesting experience in playing an old game just to see what it was like. But you know what? You're not going to have fun playing these shitty Tiger LCD games.
You're going to have plenty of fun playing these games. Play some Bartman, Avenger of Evil. Play some Terminate. They got the electronic, the Terminate. They got G-Man. All kinds of good games going on here. The Zelda one's actually really good. But yeah, if you either are too young to have ever seen these games or had them, or maybe you're old and you have nostalgia for them, or you're really old and you were too old to have them when you were a kid, go to this site, play a bunch of these awesome games. They're awesome.
So in much more important news, I defaced the fuck out of this nickel with this dime.
Yeah, let me see that nickel.
I mean, I didn't. I just did a little bit of scratching, and look, I put some surprisingly deep scratches in it.
None whatsoever.
Are you kidding?
It looks like Jefferson to me.
I put a bunch of scratches in it. Look at that. You can feel them with your nail.
So you minorly scratched. So you minorly scratched Jefferson's collar.
Yeah, in like 2 seconds. All I was saying is that it's not that hard to deface a nickel.
Yeah, okay, but try. How long is it going to take you to put an art in it and replace Jefferson completely?
About as long as it takes to do any soft metal carving.
I think if you heated it up a little bit or used a better tool like a Dremel, it would take a lot less
I wasn't
time.
saying you should carve it with a dime. I'm just saying I trivially defaced it with a dime.
Anyway.
I'll bet in about 10 minutes I could remove Jefferson's nose.
Yeah, you know what I could remove? You know his nose I could remove instantly?
Nah.
Sphinx.
I argue that you cannot.
How can I not?
Because it's already removed.
That's right. That's how I did it so fast.
So how can you remove it? Undertake the action of removing it.
I did.
No, it was removed prior. You did not remove. You did nothing.
How do you know I didn't do it?
Because Michelangelo said... Anyway. So, meta moment, very briefly. We will be this weekend at Anime Boston. That's why the show might have gone up a little late, today.
No, it's because I was in Connecticut tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And why we're kind of tired and we're kind of rushing the show and we may not have a Thursday episode.
We'll see.
I don't think we're going to have a Thursday episode.
Anyway, lots of other meta news. Let's see. We got Bar Camp, right? I'm helping to organize Bar Camp NYC. If you don't know what Bar Camp NYC is, go on the internet, look up Bar Camp, right? It happens in a bunch of cities. It is going to be on May 21st and 22nd in New York City at the Microsoft office. And you can go to the Bar Camp NYC website to get all the information about it. The 20th, May 20th, the night before Bar Camp starts, is actually that Jane McGonigal thing Rim already mentioned.
Yep.
May 7th at noon is the Nerd NYC Nerdnik, a nerd picnic. Go to the nerdnyc.com website to get all the information about the Nerdnik.
I look forward to some jungle speed outside.
Yep. April 30th and May 1st is the Comic Geek Speak podcast is having their convention in Reading, Pennsylvania. I probably won't go to it, though, because it's a really bad timing.
You know, I feel like this meta moment, if we're going to talk about all the other geeky things out there, is better served by being a post on the website.
Yeah, well, I'm working on that. It'll happen soon after all these geeky things end, probably in June.
I'm curious, do you guys care? Because I get a feeling that the only purpose of the meta moment really is people who want to know about our stuff or stuff that we're doing this con, we're going here.
I'm just saying, people show up at these things.
Yeah, but they show up
because we tell them to.
Yeah, but the things we're at, how many of them show up to the things we're not at?
We don't know. We'd have to go to those things to find out, wouldn't we?
Yeah, but why tell them to go then?
Because they're cool things.
Yeah, but why not just have a link to it? I don't think that many people are going to things we tell them to go to, especially since they listen to the episodes often way after we made them.
Anyway, and when's the next board game night? Is
May 13th.
May 13th.
The same night as the Nerd Night that they want us to go present Beyond Candyland at, so we gotta...
Oh, are we actually scheduled to do that?
We weren't, but we didn't go to 2 in a row, and then they got emailed me. It's like, hey, you guys want to present? So we'll see.
All right, well, I guess if we're presenting, that's more important than board games.
But I really want to play board games. It's my trouble.
I can go present it without
my never-ending trouble.
I don't need you to be on Candyland.
I just did because remember, it's a shorter, we have like 20 minutes.
Oh, we only have 20 minutes? Fuck,
Yeah.
I had to redo the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, I already redid it.
All
Yeah.
right.
Because I ran it for a bunch of people at work. I ran Beyond Candyland like 4 times.
Okay.
For various audiences. Anyway, the only meta news that's really pertinent to Geeknights, other than the fact that we're doing a bunch of panels at Anime Boston and we'll be playing a bunch of games there, is that the book club book is still
Foundation by Asimov.
You know, one of the great nerd books.
Yes, of all time.
That I sadly, admittedly, have not actually read.
And also follow me on Twitter, APRECHE.
You could follow Geeknights on Twitter.
You can do that too, but I want more followers.
Why?
Because somebody else had more followers. I didn't care. I don't really care about the followers. You know, I'm not the kind of person to pay attention to numbers and give a shit. I'm just sort of joking. But someone else had more followers than me, and that's not cool.
I should unfollow you.
Lol.
We should all unfollow you.
Do it. That'd be hilarious.
Guys, either follow Scott or unfollow him, and let's see what happens.
Sure. Do whatever you want.
So, Seven Wonders, one of the games we picked. We played a ton of games that we have to review. We've just been slowly piling them up and then playing them more times to make sure.
Basically, Seven Wonders is the new hot game. I heard about it, and I heard that it was the new hot game. I played it a couple times at someone's house, and then I played it a few more times at ZenkaiCon, and then Rim bought a copy and we played it even more.
Yep, it was sold out. I had to pre-order
Obviously, you know already.
on Amazon.
Yeah, you know already that if we played it so much and we kept going back to it, that it was good.
A warning. I am getting slightly tired of it, and I don't think it has staying power.
I agree.
Yep, well, there we go. But anyway, it's still a great game. I highly recommend you own it because straight up, this is a game like Zooloretto where it's not the best game. If you're smart, you'll have solved it pretty quickly.
And the winner will come down to luck.
But it's a game that you can whip out and play relatively quickly, that you can teach relatively quickly. It's a great game like at a con, like you have a bunch of new people. We should play a game. You don't really want to spend 45 minutes teaching them Puerto Rico.
The game pretty much is almost exactly in the same niche as Ticket to Ride. It takes about the same length of time to play. It's got that same mechanic of on your turn, all you do is one very small thing, and you take a lot of small turns, so the game goes very quickly. And in fact, this is even one better than Ticket to Ride because everyone takes simultaneous turns. So there's absolutely no waiting for anyone to take their turn. You just keep going and going and going and going and going,
also
and the game's
prevents
over.
Any arguments of, oh, so-and-so always doesn't take his turn. That's a lie. You take just as long because you can see every round exactly who's holding everyone up.
Because everyone's taking their turn simultaneously.
It's always Scott Johnson.
That's right. So the way Seven Wonders works is, there's a deck of cards and you split it up and you give everyone a hand. And on your turn, every turn of the entire game, all you do is play a card. That's it. And then you give the remaining cards to the person to your left or right, depending whatever.
And some of the cards are resources, and you basically tap the resources magic style every round. So you build up this kind of increasing accumulation of resources, and there's a whole bunch of different kinds.
Yeah, so early in the game, you build up more resources, and having more resources allows you to play other cards, which allow you to play other cards, which allow you to play more cards that give you more points. And then at the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins. Right? So it's all about, getting a good sequence of cards that play into each other. If you play a card and you never use that card and it never gets you any points, you just wasted a turn because you could have used that card to get money instead, which would be worth at least 1 point.
Now, it has a lot of particular mechanics that are either cribbed from other games or just analogously grown. Like, you build buildings, right? And you can only build unique buildings. So if there's a granary and you build it, you can't build another granary.
But you can build another building similar to a granary.
Yes. Now, the thing is, many buildings have a notation on them that if you already have X building, you can build this for free.
Yep.
It's basically identical to the way it works in Attica.
Yeah, for example, I learned if you actually look at the cards of the game, right? I learned that there's the most difficult card to build in the whole game is worth like 8 points. I forget what it is. It might be the Parthenon or something. It's something ridiculous. It's worth a ton of points. But if you have a theater, you can build that ridiculously expensive building for free. So basically, I always build a theater so that I can always try to get the expensive building for free. And it's worked out in my favor 2 or 3 times already.
Yep.
So it's like once you know the cards, the game starts to lose a lot of its luster because it's like just sort of obvious the path to take.
I wouldn't say the path. There are, I don't know, about 3, maybe 4 paths to victory through the game.
There's the military path.
Yep.
There's the green path.
Well, military is a choice that modifies every path.
That's true.
Because military alone does not win you the game. That can get you at most 10 plus 6 plus 2 points.
But yeah, it's mostly the green path and the blue path are the ways to go, right? And green is harder to do, but has a potentially higher payout. Like if one guy goes all blue and one guy goes all green guy's probably going to win because of the way the math works.
But here, let's talk about like the reason the paths are different. Not to get into the stupid details of the game because you should just buy it. You'll read the rules. You'll see how it really works. But the green path is there's sets of different types
cards.
of items.
Yeah, science cards.
So there's 3 types. And you get points increasingly based on the number of sets of 3 that you get, but also 2 to the n points, n being the number of one particular one that you have.
So basically, all the green cards, if you start piling them up, it makes sort of like a 2-dimensional grid of scoring. So all the green cards actually score twice in 2 different ways. And and one of those ways it scores exponentially, and the other way it scores linearly. But even the linear scoring is a multiple of 7.
Yep.
So you get basically every green card, as you get more of them, the amount of points that each individual green card gives you continues to go up at a very, very high rate.
So if you're playing this game, because we have 2-dimensional grid, it's actually fairly complicated until you figure it out, and then it's obvious. if you play this game with friends who have not played it before,
Get all the green cards.
they will look at the green cards, their eyes will glaze over when you explain how the scoring works, and they'll ignore them. You will win almost every time if you go for the green cards when people around you are not that bright or haven't played much.
Yeah, it is sort of interesting because there isn't a lot of interplayer. There is a little bit, right? You can buy things from the people to your left or right, and you military with the people to your left or right, and things like that. And but
it has a heavy left-right mechanic.
Yes, and you think about your hand. You're gonna play a card, but any cards you leave in your hand, you're giving to the person to your left or your right, depending on the age. So there is significant impact you can have on your immediate neighbors in the game. And in a 3-player game, that's really significant because you're influencing all the other players. But other than that, there isn't a whole lot of interplayer mechanics. Right? You can't destroy other people's cards. You can't steal their cards. You can't. There's really not much you can do to take points away from other people.
It's about
directly.
the same. It's a little more than, say, Agricola in terms of how much you can actually fuck with
I'd say it's a
everybody.
little bit less than Puerto Rico because you can screw with people sort of the same way that you do in Puerto Rico. Like, I played captain, so you couldn't play captain. But it's like a little bit less than that because in Puerto Rico, if I craftsman out from under you, that could hurt you pretty badly.
So my main problem with the game is that, like I said, I think I have solved it mostly, and I think when I play, it really just comes down to luck.
Yeah.
And it took maybe 8 plays to solve. There's not that much going on in the game.
Most people, though, don't play a game as much as we do, right? They get a game, and if they play it twice, it's like, oh, they're so happy. How many people get a game and play it 8 times?
But I found that games like this
in a couple weeks
will be played a lot, or Zularetto gets played a lot too, just because, like I said at the beginning, they're quick to play.
That is true. It is quick to play, so if you do bust it out, you're probably going to play it 2 or 3 times.
This takes a half hour tops if people are slow. If people take their turn, you'll whip out a whole game, including scoring at the end in like 20 minutes.
The scoring could actually take as long as a whole age.
Yeah.
Just because, you have to add up so many different things, and, some of them are slightly
Now,
hidden.
the analogy of the game is not as bad as Le Havre, which basically doesn't have an actual theme. It's just kind of like, boats and food. Get food.
It's a port town.
Yeah.
You make money.
But Seven Wonders, you're playing a wonder / the civilization that built that wonder.
Yeah, it's like if you're playing, the Colossus. Well, are you the Colossus or are you the people building the Colossus?
I think you're playing the city-state that has wrought the Colossus.
Uh-huh.
But everyone plays a wonder.
So
and
Sardia?
You can either pick them or pass them out randomly, and everyone has a little card. And in addition to the cards in their hands that they're buying and passing back and forth, you can also buy the improvements that make your wonder bigger. Like, as you complete your wonder, it does stuff.
Yes.
And every wonder has a different set of powers and an A and a B side.
Yeah, so basically everyone has a wonder, which is basically 3 unique cards that no one else has, effectively, right? It's like everyone's playing with the same deck of cards, but each person has 3 cards, usually 3, sometimes 4. I think there's one weird wonder that is 4. But everyone basically has a handful of a few cards that are different from everyone else's cards that makes you unique, which gives you a little bit more replay value. It's like, well, I'll play with the Mausoleum. Well, now I'll play with the Hanging Garden. So it's a slightly different game if you have a different wonder. And every wonder has 2 sides, which gives you a little bit more replay value because there's an A side, which is easy and direct, and there's a B side, which is a little more complicated, but potentially higher payout.
I would recommend when you play, do the random allocation of the wonders, but let players pick A or B.
I would recommend you do it completely randomly.
Nah, that gets boring because I'm already bored with the game. I mean, I wouldn't play it unless I was teaching it or playing it with new people or as like a warm-up game at a board game night. I wouldn't just play it.
It's definitely a good warm-up game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't make it the highlight game, though.
No.
But it is an excellent new warm-up game, and if I was short on warm-up games, I would definitely add it to my game library, even if I was bored
I'm
with it.
accumulating a lot of warm-up games because I lacked them. I realized that
because people refuse to play the serious games, people just play warm-up games and then they're done.
Well, I only owned some of the big heavy hitter games like El Grande and T&E, and I own a lot of the weird old out-of-print games like La Chita.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't own many quick whip-em-out games.
Yep,
That's why I got Zularetto and Seven Wonders, and I'm ordering Rico.
Zularetto takes a little bit longer than Seven Wonders. I think it's more of a mid. It's sort of in between warm-up and highlight.
There's 2 kinds of warm-up games in my mind. There's the warm-up game that's quick to play, as in you whip it out, you play it with everybody, and then you play the main event. And then there's the warm-up game like Zularetto, where you've got a bunch of people over, you're going to play a game, you're going to play games, many games, but people are still wanting to socialize. They're not in the let's just play a game mode yet. Zularetto, you can socialize over without impacting the game.
I mostly think of Zularetto as more like a Settlers replacement, right? Because like I'm looking down on Settlers, but Zularetto I can still play a lot more easily than I can play Catan.
Settlers and Zularetto are actually pretty equal to me.
Zularetto's a much better gateway, I think, too.
I don't know. It depends on the person. Someone who is predisposed toward hardcore, Settlers is a better like intro game. Someone who isn't, Zularetto is a better intro game.
Anyway, but yeah, Seven Wonders is new hotness.
My other trouble, I'll warn you now, when you're teaching this game, people who played Magic as they were kids, they'll get the resources immediately. No one else will.
Yeah,
Almost everyone we have
very
taught this game
surprised.
to has fucked up the resources despite multiple alternative explanations, analogies, examples. Nothing works.
I can't understand why these people don't understand how the resources work. It's like you have 2 rocks. That means you look at the cost of something. If it costs 3 rock, you can't afford it. It's like money that you spend it once per turn, and every turn everyone gives you all the money back.
Yes, it's Magic resources. You tap them every round, but people don't get that, and they'll buy resources by trying to like play cards and they will cock that up. You've got to make sure after you teach the whole game, teach everybody resources again. I guarantee at least one of your players doesn't actually understand.
Yeah, and on top of that, right, even if people understand resources, right, there's the game requires you to notice a lot of small things on the cards. For example, this card upgrades to that card for free. Well, it's a really tiny icon that says that. So if you're not really looking closely at every card, you might say not build something even though you could have for free. Because...
Yep. People will also fuck up. They will not remember that they can't build the same named building twice. So they'll build the barracks, and then they'll build the barracks again, and it just cocks up the game.
Anyway.
Other than that, the game is great. I don't know if it was really worth MSRP, but I'm glad I own it.
Mm-hmm. We're doing more show, or is that enough?
I think that's enough. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.